So the brand new Hovercraft was just added into War Tycoon, and there are already a lot of questions which are being asked regarding how good it actually is. Well, in today's video, guys, I'll be checking that out and I'll be going over all of the statistics, advantages and disadvantages, and there is a very interesting bug that this vehicle also has, and today I'll be showing you all of that. So anyway, before we begin, this vehicle has a speed of 50 and a health of 1,700. So once you max them out, the speed is going to be 65 and the health is going to be well over 2,000. So you guys will definitely be able to take on a lot of tank opponents with this vehicle. So the first thing we're going to be testing is to see how good the explosive gun actually is against the F-35, and it's going to be doing exactly 52 damage. And by the way, this is a maxed out vehicle compared to the ones I'm also going to be testing against, and honestly, this damage is incredibly good. Now taking a look at the minigun, and this is what's actually good against vehicles who are air, and it's going to be really easy to actually hit your shots with this. But as you guys can see, it's going to be doing exactly 31 damage each, and this DPS is pretty insane against planes. Now going back to the helicopters, how good is the explosive gun on the Mi-24 Super Hind? Well, once again, it's insane. Now going back to the minigun, and this time it's going to be just as good as it was against the F-35, so honestly, in terms of anti-air capabilities, this thing is an absolute god. Now taking a look on how good it actually is against the tanks, this explosive gun is going to be, let's just say, something else. It does 52 damage per shot, and that DPS is just god level. You're able to shred the Abrams X in below 10 seconds if you're going to be hitting all your shots, and I also want to add, you have missiles to combine this damage with, so in terms of anti-tank, I think this thing might be one of the best in the game. Anyway, now moving into the minigun, and this is a completely different story, and unfortunately it's not going to be good against tanks. It's pretty much only going to be used against air vehicles, which I guess is kind of fair. 13 damage really is just tickling your enemy. And as you guys can also see, this vehicle does have a bug in terms of its minigun. Once it does run out of ammo, it takes like 20 seconds or something to reload, and since this minigun isn't good for anything else rather than air vehicles, it really would not make sense to counterbalance it in this way. Now moving on to the ground missiles, and those things are an absolute joke of a powerhouse. First of all, you have pretty much unlimited range and you're able to kill the enemy from anywhere you want, and not to add, they do 10 to 11% per hit. On average, you're going to be able to hit up to 7 missiles because the average APS count is going to be free. Now taking a look on how good the grenade launchers are against infantry, let's just say their damage is not going to be too high and their AoE is not going to be too high either. However, the one very strong advantage of this is that they are just meant to be an addition to this vehicle, just as an extra bit of versatility. So honestly, this does not matter this much. However, what they're really good for is actually going to be killing tanks, because as you guys can see, the fire rate of these grenades is actually pretty godly, and if you're just going to be able to hit all of them once the enemy is standing still over there near you and you're just accurate with the grenades, this thing will absolutely make a joke out of the enemy. Now lastly, moving on to the anti-bolt capabilities of this vehicle, and I gotta say they're actually pretty good, because you're going to be averaging around 2 to 3 damage per hit from the missiles, and since you have 10 of them, you can definitely do some pretty good damage. If you do get close to the Zumwalt, you can also do 2 damage per hit with the grenade launchers, which is once again really good damage close range, and I really do not mind it at all. Now taking a look at the standard explosive gun, this thing will also be able to do some pretty good damage. So overall, all in, this vehicle is going to be a very heavy killer of ships if you do play it right. Once again, you do have to play at a range, and I believe that on average you're probably not going to be hitting the enemies with grenade launchers, because the Zumwalt will probably kill you before you get to them. So really, you do have to play it smart. Anyway, for the time being, that's pretty much everything I have for you guys in today's video. Personally, I'm a big fan of this vehicle in terms of power. I do think it is very neatly and nicely balanced. It does just have one bug, but once again, there is one very big counter feature to this vehicle, in that it's going to be the damage multipliers. The hovercrafts take more damage than tanks, so do not expect this thing to be super strong and beefy just because its health number is high, because once again, there are more different statistics to this game. Anyway, see you guys next video, have a great day, and tomorrow I will be covering the C4.